Hi crafters, it's Karen and I have another process layout to share. I'm scrapbooking some photos that I took while we were on our cruise at one of the excursions, and this set of photos I had trimmed down to 4x3 and 3x3. All of these pictures, there's 7 pictures in all, and as you can tell from the beginning, you saw that I was going to do a grid type layout using all of these photos, and this is a great way to get a lot of pictures on your layout, especially like for a trip. Like these photos come from we had taken a cruise last year, and in one of the stops we had stopped in Jamaica, and we went to the Green Grotto Caves in Jamaica. That was one of the excursions, so I have gobs and gobs of photos. So this is a great way to get a lot of pictures on your layout. So as you can see, I wanted to create my own background. I didn't want it to be just plain white, and I couldn't find a pattern paper that I wanted to use. So I'm doing that smooshing effect, and I'm using the Hickory Smoke Distress Ink by Tim Holtz and also the Walnut Stain Distress Ink by Tim Holtz, and I'm putting them together on the packaging, adding a little bit of water and creating my own background, and I just love the way it came out. I'm loving this Hickory Smoke color, as a matter of fact. It is just such a perfect shade of gray. I just love it. And it when you mix it with water like this, with the watercolor effect, it just comes out so nice. So that's what I'm doing. I'm creating my own background page, and then you'll see later I do matte this whole page. I trim it down a 1/4 of an inch, and I do matte it on a deep brown piece of cardstock, and it just sets it off really nice. So anyway, I'm drying where I smushed, and I'm drying the back side of the paper to make sure everything's dry before I continue with my using my adhesives. Now I'm going to lay out my photos and see how they look with this background, because I want to do some stamping. So I want to get an idea as to placement, so that I get an idea as to where I want to do my stamping. So I did not add any gesso or anything to this white cardstock, and this is just regular Michael's Recollections white cardstocks. I think it's 65-pound weight cardstock that I'm using. So I'm using this Stampendous stamp set that I had gotten at Joann.com, and the name of the stamp set is Mishmash, and I love the effects that it gives. I'm just using the circle one, and even though it's a circle, it does kind of mimic the grid-like effect because of the lines within the circle. So I just loved the effect. I'm using my black what is it, acrylic archiver, sorry, the black archiver ink by Ranger, because it is it works beautifully with stamps, and it is waterproof or permanent. So I don't have my Tim Holtz matte underneath here, so I'm using this the underside of a piece of cardstock that I'm going to be using after, so that I can do some stamping on the edge. And I should have been using my Tim Holtz matte, because if you can see that black spot on my cutting mat, you could see that's India ink that got on there, and India ink does not come off. So I should have been using my mat the other night when I was scrapbooking. So I thought about using that long stamp, but then I decided I wanted to use this Finnabar crackle stamp that I had gotten from a Barb's shop. She's Callie Scrapper here on YouTube, and I had picked up a few of these little Prima Finnabar stamps, and they're perfect for mixed media because, for one thing, the size, they're easy to hold, they're just so handy. And look at the effect of this crackle stamp. It just looks so nice. It comes out so nice. So I'm trying to be random, but I'm also pairing it up with the circle stamping that I did. And again, I'm using the Ranger Archival ink. I believe this time I'm using it in the color Coffee. It's brown color. So yes, to trim my photos, all of my photos were 4x6, and I wanted to trim them down to either 3x3 or 4x3, so that I could do this grid-like pattern. And I used my set of Simple Stories. I showed them in the beginning of the video. They're made out of like a clear plastic, and they're sized, and they work perfectly so that you can place them over your photo, and they're see-through, so you could see how a cropped photo would look like. So that's how and then I just used my trimmer. I'm going over all the edges of my photos with the black archival ink, and I'm doing it rather than the distress ink because these photos are kind of glossy. So we skipped over. You didn't have to watch me distress all my photos. So I'm getting ready to peel the tape off the back of my layout to adhere it to the deep brown cardstock. And I use scrappy tape rather than score tape. For me, it works just as beautifully, and it is so much cheaper. And I get this at ScorePal. Oh, I'm sorry, I better not say. I'm gonna link it below where I purchased the double-sided tape from. So I decided to mat all of my photos just to give them a very, very slight mat, like 1/8 of an inch, maybe 1/4 of an inch. So, and they each have a different color, and you'll see it. To me, it really makes a difference in bringing out the photos, making the photos stand out a little bit more, because after finishing that background, the background is a little busy, you know. So I really wanted to map my photos, and I did go over all the photo mats, you know, that cardstock with the black archival ink as well. So as I was putting this layout together, I realized I didn't use any pattern paper at all for this layout. It's all cardstock. And to mat most of those photos, I used the Coordinations stack. It's the Tim Holtz Craft Core Nostalgic Collection, because it does have all the colors, but then all the colors seem to have like a little bit of brown mixed in with them, and I thought that was good tones for these photos, because they are kind of dark in that, you know, we're in a cave. So I thought they worked really well. So as you can see, I'm not very I'm not very precise. I'm not terribly OCD when it comes to, laying out my photos. I mean, I think I did line it up against the grid of my cutting mat, but trying to get them even and everything else, I didn't bother frustrating myself. I've noticed that as I've gotten older and the longer that I scrapbook differently than I did when my boys were younger. I'm sorry about my head, when I lean in, my head gets in the way. I apologize about that. Anyway, I realize I scrapbook differently in that when my sons were younger, and this we're talking 16, 17 years ago, and I started scrapbooking mostly because I wanted to document my boys' youth, and I wanted that for them as I grew up, and I wanted to be able to remember moments, when they were older. I wanted to be able to look back. At any rate, I never was the type of person to scrapbook chronologically, because I knew that would make me crazy. I knew that there would be no way for me to keep up with scrapbooking if I was going to try to do it chronologically and in order. And so I scrapbooked events like birthdays and holidays and like that, but I scrapbooked memories like I can't think of something in particular, but just memories, like they learned to ride a bike, or the things that they used to say, and like that. And I was more, I guess, creative in the way that I scrapbook those things. These days, as I've gotten older, I only have Joe and I to scrapbook for, so it's just different. It's just different when you're scrapbooking as for yourself as an adult, rather than scrapbooking children when they're growing up, if that makes any sense. Anyway, the letters that I used for the title is Green Grotto Caves, and I used the Lost and Found recorded letters from my mind's eye, and then I'm going to spell out Jamaica using my Everywhere thickers, and they're the chipboard thickers that have the map on them. They're really cool, and I had to use extra adhesive, of course, on the chipboard, as we always do. But here you're going to see me fuss with my fine line applicator. I have 1, 2, 3, 4 of these things, and I don't. Am I the only one? These things have become a pain in the neck for me. It doesn't matter what I fill them with. The one that I'm working with now right now in this video is I filled it with Aleene's Original Tacky Glue. It's the all-purpose glue. It's not very thick or anything like that. It's just the regular glue. And I can't hardly get it to come out of the bottle, out of the fine line needle there. And you'll see me struggle. I mean, really, really have to squeeze, and I'm just getting like drops out. And I see some of you using your fine line applicators, and you don't seem to have a problem with them, but you could see me struggling with this one, and it's so frustrating because I know it has a potential to be a great tool, but I have 4 of them filled, and not one of them works for me. And I don't think it's because I filled it wrong. I mean, there's a very little that you could do to use this particular item wrong, you know. For me, it just hasn't been, they haven't been user friendly. So I tend to put a needle or a pin in my bottles of glue anyway, so that they don't dry up. Like, I've never had a problem with my glossy accents drying up, because I always put a pin in the tip of it anyway. Same with my Scott's Quick Dry and all that. So I'm just going to go back to the regular bottles. So the little ephemera there, like the geotag that I'm holding, it says "We Are Here." That's a cutout from one of the pads, Craftsmith pads. It's from Pacific Cove that I had picked up at Michael's at one time or another. The beach hot buy pad. And Let's Get Lost, I thought that was appropriate because we're in a cave and there's paths here all over the place, and if you don't stay with the group, you very well could get lost in there. It really is very, very cool. So we took this cruise with some friends of ours. We were aboard the Pacific, what's it called? The Royal Caribbean International Allure of the Seas, and it is, I believe it's the largest cruise ship, and it is a gorgeous ship, and this was really the trip of a lifetime. We had such a good time because we went with such good friends of ours, and really the first time that Joe and I had gone away for any amount of time, just us, you know, without children or something. So you could see I took out some of my metals because I felt like the layout needed some other type of texture. So I took out my fine line applicator that has my glossy accents in it, and I'm struggling with it, which is why you can't see. And do you see, I unscrewed the cap and then I felt like it was stuck, so I just pulled it, and do you see that? The pin came out of the cap and now is stuck inside the applicator, like it broke off of the inside of the cap. So I'm just taking my regular bottle of glossy accents and adhering these metals in the corner, and you know, my like I said, my glossy accents never dries up. I thought these bottles would be cool because it, you know, they're fine lined. I don't have a problem with my adhesive drying up at any point, at any rate. Joe's going to try to fix it for me, but I'm pretty much giving up on these things. So I adhered these metal corners, and I believe I got these at, oh my gosh, the name of her shop just left me. Anyway, I believe it's an Etsy shop. Anyway, now I'm doing some journaling. I just love the way the background came out on this page. And I know it seems kind of busy, but I didn't do a whole lot of embellishing because the background is kind of busy. I just adjusted that corner just a little bit. And I finished this layout about 45 minutes ago, and look, glossy accent is already dry, which is nice. So if you all have any tips as far as using the fine line applicators, don't hesitate to leave them below. It seems like a great little tool, and I want to be able to use it. So now I'm adding some of these little you know, blingy dots that I had picked up at Michael's at one time or another, just for a little color. And that's that. And that's my layout. So thank you so much for watching. Like I said, I'm going to continue the process layouts and practicing my narrations. So thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate it, and I'll talk to you soon. Boo on Fine Line.